Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior. Welcome.
It's time for The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.
The ultimate hero in the ultimate adventures.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Jones?
Jones! Mr. Jones, I've heard a lot about you, sir. Your appearance is exactly the way I imagined.
I'm here now. What do you want to talk about?
Well, greetings, IndyCast listeners and Further fans. This is The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I am Joe Stuber, joined as always by my fellow comic book archaeologist from Austria, Keith Voss. Keith, how in the world are you, my brother?
Doing good, Joe. Hello, Indy fans. Man, it's been a minute since we've done this, huh?
It's been a minute since we did this. Yeah, the segment proper. You and I've gotten together. We'll talk a little bit about. Let's catch up on what we've been doing since the last time we did this proper was our 10th anniversary.
Yeah, that's right.
Further Adventures. That was Marvel's Jim Shooter. We welcomed him into the Ravens Nest. That was fun. I mean,
so much fun with Jim Shooter.
But you and I have gotten together on the IndyCast. There's been
we've done a couple of things.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of things. I mean, we did, of course, a couple of roundtables with our fellow IndyCasters.
Yeah, so like the IndyCast anniversary proper, we did the anniversary of Raiders, the 40th. Yep. So those are fun. Always enjoy getting together with our fellow IndyCasters. But you and I have kind of been dipping our toe in some other audio waters. Hopefully the listeners know about these things. If not, they're out there, right?
They are out there. Yeah, we did a couple of commentaries. We did, of course, the Raiders of the Lost Ark commentary. We did a Temple commentary, and we have upcoming, which I think is going to be dropped as a solo episode of the IndyCast. We have our Last Crusade commentary coming up.
Yeah, so that's coming up. And I think it's like right around the corner. So if they're listening to this now, or if they're listening to this maybe like a week after or something like after it dropped, it's probably out there. So yeah, that's been fun. We've been wanting to do that. We've been wanting to do that for a long, long time. To be honest, a little behind the scenes here.
And we had a couple of guests with us too when we did the Last Crusade commentary, because the other ones that we did, it was just the two of us.
Right.
So we had Laird and Ron. From the fantastic John Williams specials join us for Last Crusade. And, we also have something else in the works, which hopefully we can get everybody together to do relatively soon. We will be doing at some point also a Crystal Skull commentary.
Look, I've been wanting to do that too, because it's like that to me, look, we sort of put the first three up on a pedestal, and there's some certain sense of reverence about it. Look, we do poke fun at it on some of the scenes and things, but Crystal Skull, I think we're gonna have the most fun with, because it's so goofy, it's so polarizing. It was on the other day. I started watching it. Look, if it's on, I'm watching it, right? And it's just like I'm seeing things, and I'm like, I can't wait to comment on. We'll see how many people we can bring along with us too, because apparently Indy brought the whole world with him in that movie.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a ton of trivia too that we know about with that movie, and honestly, maybe there's a lot of Indy fans out there that just hated that movie when it came out. I'm sure there's a lot of Indy fans that hated that movie when it first came out. But I mean, who knows? After 13, 14 years. Yeah. Maybe you'll see it with a different pair of eyes, and maybe listening to our commentary will help with maybe slightly appreciating that movie a little bit more now that it's aged a little bit.
Haven't you gotten a sense, though, that it's sort of becoming a little bit more beloved over the years? Yeah, especially since we don't have any more Indiana Jones movies.
I think
people are sort of going back. Yeah, I've noticed people are a little bit more kind to it over the years. I like it. It's cool. That opening, like the first 15 minutes. I put it up there with any Indiana Jones film. So, so those commentaries are out there. Those have been fun. If you're not familiar with those, go check them out. They're on the IndyCast. You basically just pop the movie in. I don't care what you got, VHS to 4K. I don't care. It
works for all of them.
It works for all of them. It's the same movie. You freeze it and 3, 2, 1, and you watch it along with us. And we just have a blast doing that. Something else that came along recently, though, that you and I have not had a chance to talk about, and this was very recent. Another archaeological find in the world of Indiana Jones.
it still amazes me that we are still discovering stuff, because this was really surprising to me. This was not something I had ever even heard of, and I own that one book that goes into detail on all of the old Kenner Indiana Jones toys, and it combines it with a James Bond.
Oh, the James Bond Indiana Jones toy book. Yeah. I know that one. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have that book, and I've gone through 100 times.
Everything that could possibly be in the world of Indiana Jones toys is in that book, right, Keith?
Or is it? I mean, I
was wondering if you were going to go Johnny Carson on it.
As we recently discovered, or as we recently discovered on social media, I should say, right. Toy Otter.
Yeah.
Right? They on Facebook, right? They started posting a bunch of stuff about unproduced toys.
Yeah.
Right? A series of photos from the 2008 Hasbro line.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff. There's like Marvel Secret Wars. There's like the superpowers things and something. And then all of a sudden there's like a post for Indiana Jones 2008 Hasbro. I'm like, okay, that caught my attention. And it's like, it's not just like the unproduced toys from the line that we would expect. It was like something that appealed to you and I particularly.
Yes. Figures based on indie comic books. So that definitely raised a couple of eyebrows in the Further Adventures group here.
Okay, let's run down. Here's what we saw. Okay, so there was like Thunder in the Orient. There was the Dark Horse miniseries. So there was like an unproduced, and I think these are legit. I mean, that's the thing. We've done a little digging. They are legit. It was the Dark Horse miniseries, Indy and Sophia Hapgood. There's that one. The Fourth Nail, that we're going back to the Marvel days now. Issues 11 and 12, I think. It was like Indy and a ninja, or it was like a swordsman.
Yeah,
or something.
One of the assassins
One of the assassins, right. Yeah. And then, dun dun dun, the Sea Butchers, Keith Katanga, Indian Katanga. From Marvel issues 15 and 16.
Why we didn't get this it still stumps me. I mean, I know why we didn't get it, but I mean, a Bantu Wind playset would have been pretty amazing. I mean, all I would have needed is the Well of the Souls playset, which I had, and the Bantu Wind, and I would have been a happy camper.
Could you imagine like lining up your action figures on the end, and they're like looking for Indy out in the water, and then he pops up on the like have a German submarine playset or something like that would be so cool. But just to even have a Katanga figure, I would have done.
You would have did the voices too. I'm sorry, Captain. I don't see him anywhere. Where is he? There, you know.
And then play the music, John Williams music, playing in a bathtub. Yeah, with our goofy toys. There's something wrong with us. Yeah, but it's like we never got a Katanga figure, and they're out there. So, that's what. Look, we're doing some more digging. We're reaching out to Hasbro. Look, who knows if we're going to find out anything. If we do find out more about this, it's basically like we know the line didn't sell as well. That, it's not Star Wars. You're not going to have a billion aliens. It's like Indiana Jones. That's a tough sell for toys. It didn't sell as well as they wanted. We know, what was it? The one line, the last wave got discontinued. They sort of dropped it at San Diego Comic-Con, so you got those. Do we ever get a Marcus Brody figure? Ever?
I don't think so. I mean, and look,
even
honestly,
back in the day, I don't think we got one, did we? Back in the 80s?
No. I mean, and all you really needed is, all I really needed as a kid was just that Indiana Jones figure, and you could do you can go on any adventure you want. You know what I mean? So you sell that figure, and that's really all you needed. Do you need the others really? You don't.
We do
really
now, because we're collectors and we have money, and we then we only had a couple of bucks in our pocket.
Honestly, though, I only had a couple of those figures as a kid. I had Tote, I had the Cairo Swordsman, I had Indy. I never had a Marion. I never had. I mean, it's from the Raiders line. I mean, I had all the Temple figures, which were consisted of 2 figures, but I didn't have all of them. I only had Indy, Cairo Swordsman, and Tote.
For some reason, I never got the Raiders figures. I had the Star Wars figures. I had all of them. Yeah, but I never got the Raiders figures. And then by Jedi, I was kind of out of that. I had sold everything. So I never got those. So I'm enjoying going. I love my Crystal Skull figures.
I think I had Sala too, but didn't they had like those fabric robes and stuff, and those just got eaten up from like you play one day in the yard and like those are just gone. So you just made up other stories for what they look like. Okay, this is now the naked Cairo swordsman.
It's a whole different adventure there, right?
Exactly, right. So what could you? I mean, all you really needed was that Indiana Jones figure, and you can go on endless adventures.
Well, apparently now we could have gotten a Katanga. Maybe we will. Look, here's the thing: Indiana Jones 5 is coming up, so it's maybe these. Look, we're gonna try to reach out to Hasbro. We're gonna see what we're gonna do. If we can get it, we'll talk to them and we'll bring it to you here. But we've posted that we've shared Toy Otter's posts on our Facebook page. So if you haven't liked the Facebook page, obviously go like it. It's there. Check it out. Give us your thoughts. Post some comments in there. Some people are posting some comments in there, some shocky emoji faces and stuff. So yeah, we were shocked too. But yeah, we're going to do some more digging into that. I'd love to do a future segment on it. We'll talk about that later in the show. So, but to the segment we have today, it is, Keith, it is definitely an interactive segment that we have. In fact, everything coming your way right now comes from our Further Adventures mailbag.
Mister, get your arm out of that mailbox. I mean now.
Oh, dear me. I haven't had so much trouble delivering a package since the incident in Vienna.
Yeah, we're hitting the mailbag today and letting you listeners out there drive the bus. First, a little housekeeping here. We have a belated 10th anniversary greeting that arrived since we last got together. So, by the way, thanks to all of you out there who sent those in, including our latest from good friend of the show, good friend of ours, Alex Levitsky, founder, executive producer of Raiders Radio Productions, Indiana Jones and the Bridge to Yesterday, of course. Alex writes...
Definitely give it a listen.
You have to give that a listen. I mean, we worked very hard on that production. Anyway, so Alex writes, brothers, happy decade anniversary of bringing us the dream. Love you both and all the fun, great episodes, trivia, and more. I would have loved to also record it in audio, happy anniversary, but I had recorded one for Chris A's IGN the UK segment, and I didn't want to bog down the show. We forgive you, Alex. I mean, Chris deserves all of the accolades that he got. But nonetheless, I'm thinking of you both, and I'm celebrating alongside you. Keep the show coming. Can't wait to see what else you bring, and many happy returns. Thanks so much, Alex. We really appreciate it.
Well, we're bringing you this. Yeah, we're still finding stuff. We're still digging deep.
Yeah, I mean, and of course with Indy 5, we keep saying this, but Indy 5 coming, we hopefully, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later on in the segment. Hopefully we're going to be getting more comics. Maybe that can lead to more audio productions. Who knows?
There's all that. Look, we love Indiana Jones. We're going to keep bringing you this segment. We'll find something.
Yeah.
Keith and I always find something. Hey, we somehow uncovered action figures. Who would have guessed? Maybe there's a whole subsection there too. We'll get into that. We also heard from Chris Rapley about one of our recent indie movie commentaries. Mentioned those earlier. Chris writes, "Gentlemen, you did it again. Thanks so much for the Temple of Doom commentary. I was lucky enough to have a little bit of time off work last week and made the most of it listening to the podcast. The movie's wild changes in tone, I'm looking at you, dinner sequence and heart-ripping scene, have meant I've never really clicked with it like the other three movies. But listening to your enthusiastic commentary has given me a greater appreciation of the film and food for thought. For instance, I've never really noticed how beautifully it is shot. Some of the visuals are stunning, and the amazing way Spielberg blended the shots to cover Ford's absence. Now I am eagerly awaiting the commentary for my favorite indie film. There's still time to do Last Crusade before Christmas, right? Keep up the brilliant work. All the very best." Hey, thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, I guess we missed Christmas.
Missed Christmas, but it is right around the corner. I mean, you've been eagerly awaiting, and guess what? You won't have to wait much longer because the Last Crusade commentary is on the way.
It is
on the way. Before you know it.
No, and that's the thing, too, is like, you and I sat down before we even recorded the commentary, a couple of years earlier, and watched Temple of Doom together. And you've increased my appreciation of the film because I know it's like, look, Raiders, special place in your heart, but Temple's like kind of the one you gravitate toward. But like you increased my appreciation for it. And I think that comes out in our commentary. It is, like, as we've said, no pun intended, bug nuts crazy. It is.
It is.
Some things don't hold up, but I think that's the goofy aspect of it, is watching it through 2022 eyes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for one person sees something, a little differently than another one does, and the fact that we get to share those things, maybe other people will get to appreciate that more. And just to know that even one person out there appreciates the movie a little bit more makes it all worth it. Makes me very happy to hear. So thanks so much for that message, Chris. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. And with that, we are going to get to the topic of today's segment. Look, Keith, here's the thing. We've got all of Chris A's reports from the Indy 5 locations. Those are awesome. Those are out there on the IndyCast. We know from producer Frank Marshall and director James Mangold, the production has wrapped. Post-production has begun. They are editing the film as we speak. As of this recording, the film is set to premiere June 30th, 2023. We're getting closer and closer and closer to Indy 5. We know Marvel's owned by Disney. We've seen all the Star Wars comic books coming at us left and right, covering just about every character you can think of. It's reasonable to assume, right, that Marvel's going to bring us some form of Indy comic books, right? I mean, like, at least an adaptation, right? We got to get that.
Gotta hope that's what we're going to be getting.
We put it out there to you listeners out there and you, the followers on our Facebook page. We asked this question: what do you want to see in new Indiana Jones comics? That's the question we put out. And man, we got a response.
Oh, did we ever? And look, here's the thing. We did get some other comics when Crystal Skull was released, right? I mean, it is a whole new ball game now.
Yeah,
historically, we got Tomb of the Gods. We got an adaptation
Adventures,
of Crystal Skull, right?
Yeah,
right.
the little adventure
pocket
books, right?
So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, I think we will be getting something, maybe another novel as well. But I mean, you know, look, what Joe and I are always talking about, what we'd like to see, but we really want to know what the listeners want, because we know what we want to see more or less, right?
Yeah, not from us. We've talked about snow, Indy in the snow.
Like, you know, we're old news here.
Right.
Do you want to see another regular monthly series like Further Adventures, which is I definitely would want that.
Yes.
Do you want more Dark Horse type miniseries? Like I said, stuff that came out after Crystal Skull was released, those digests, again, 1930s adventures, 40s, 50s, 60s, a mix of adult Indy and young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Both.
Crossovers with Captain America or others in the Disneyverse. I don't really need any of that stuff. I don't really need that stuff. No,
I'll take it. Give it to me. I'll take whatever you give me.
How about what if type tales? I mean, you know, I have to admit, I loved the What If Marvel animated series. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, that was like the what if Han Solo met Indiana Jones, right? We got that.
We got that. I mean, but how far could you go with that? That could be something like, I don't know. I mean, we asked you to get specific. Now, I don't mean you, Joe. I mean the listeners. I mean the fans. And boy, did you guys deliver.
Yeah, they did.
Since we just heard from Chris Rapley, let's let him continue with his thoughts on new indie comics. Chris writes, "Hi, gents. Just a quick bit of feedback regarding what indie comics I would like to see. For me, it has to be some long-format stories of Indy during World War II. We got a hint of his adventures during Crystal Skull, and I'm really keen to see what he might have been up to. And Indy punching Nazis? I'm always a big fan of that. Keep up the great work." Well, yes, so we, Chris, right? And, of course, that's something, you know, Raiders Radio.
You delved into that.
Touched on. Yeah, we wanted to really like sort of go into one of those adventures, which is what we did for Bridge to Yesterday. So,
what if they did a comic book adaptation of that?
I mean,
like, don't give us a cease and desist. Give us a comic book adaptation. Right?
Exactly.
Let's all benefit.
Hear Indy 5 are about, you know, I you know, kind of along the same line with some of the ideas that we had for Bridge to Yesterday. So
that'd make a great graphic novel. Yeah, I love that idea. All that.
You know, I wanted to go in that direction with it too. You know, we're all about comics here. We want to see more comics.
Yep. No, I agree. I love that idea. So thanks for that, Chris. Our next further fan to weigh in on the future of indie comics is Steve Rivers, and here's what Steve
Rivers
wants.
Wrestler Steve Rivers. Love Steve. I saw Steve Rivers wrestle Iron Sheik on TV once. That is not a joke. Look it up, people. He's great.
Wow. That like there would be like the Pat Roach, right?
Yeah.
You come in.
He would be a perfect heavy for Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that'd be great.
In Indy 5 and 6.
Let's see what he has to say about it. Maybe he wants to put himself in as the heavy side. He says, "I want to see the return of the classic original series The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Well, that would make our job a lot easier. We want to change the name of the segment.
Yes.
Now, we all know that they would give it a brand new issue number 1, of course, but we want to see it also with legacy numbering, which would be issue 35. I also want to see.
Steve.
Yes, we've talked about the issue 35. We talked about that way years and years ago. I also want to see the return of the traditional regular letters page readers of the Lost Ark. I really miss letter pages in comic books. Too few of them have them anymore. I would like to see the series explore every decade of Indy's past with 5 or 6 issue story arcs done in the style of the Indy movies. Cheers, guys. Well, cheers to you, Steve, and I agree with you on that one. I agree.
Great hearing from you, Steve. Yeah, and you know what? That's something we have talked about in some of our reviews, right? Some of those stories could have breathed a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some of them could have gone a couple of issues longer, and that's what I'm really hoping. And you know, with some of the writers and some of the artists and the way they lay things out and storylines and plots nowadays, especially even in some of the Star Wars comics, some of those go on a little too long, in my opinion. But I mean, with Indiana Jones, we can go. We could do those 5 or 6 story arcs.
5 or 6 get you a graphic novel, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and wasn't that John Byrne's problem early on? He was like, you know, well, we talked about that with Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter had a different take on it. He said, no, we weren't holding him back. John Byrne said, yeah, they were holding me back. So who knows? But look, we've addressed it. And it was like they wanted to do those like longer arcs. So no reason you can't do it now, because this, like the comic book world now is geared toward those graphic novels.
Absolutely.
Selling those. So those would be perfect for that.
It's all about, right? I mean, unfortunately, it's all about putting out those collections.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the run or the end of the series, you know, they put out that collection, and that's more or less what
be perfect for
what people are going for. Yeah.
Could you imagine like a number 1 Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, but in the corner, like he says, like that little number 35? Like they used to do that, like with Spider-Man books and Fantastic.
No, they did
Four.
that with Daredevil too.
Daredevil,
you know what I mean?
right.
Yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, come on. You know, for us, we would lose our minds. But
let's get Marvel's editor in chief on the horn. Let's see if we can talk.
Yeah, I mean, because they'll listen to us, right?
Of course. Well, they better. We're the ones giving them the money. Without us giving them the money, they ain't making no money. So yes, I say they will listen to us.
And not only are they listening to us, they got to listen to our listeners, because also Jared Effler wrote in and said he would also love a Further Adventure series, a retro style continuation of the original series. A return of artists and writers would be sublime, but really a return to that highly serialized format of the original run with that art style would be super cool. Really lean into the older aesthetic. Absolutely, Jared. Yes.
Fans loving that 80s series. Yeah. I mean, just kind of we talk
something
like
special.
Yeah, it is. And it's just like, I remember like I loved when we reviewed all the books, like reviewed all the issues, because we get to dig into those and you get that old comic book smell. Man, look, Hostess Cakes made a comeback, right? So maybe we could put some Hostess ads in there and like really go retro with it, right?
Would be great. Would
That
be
would
great.
be great. We also heard from Jeff Messer. Jeff writes, I feel like they should embrace a more serialized approach. Well, there you go. Everybody's saying that. Like Raiders in overall pace and style. And pick up after Last Crusade in the timeline and move forward into World War II. So again, we've got that era. We're talking about that. Much like Monuments Men, in that India is racing to collect artifacts before the Nazis can get to them. This obviously becomes a lot harder once the war is in full swing, but he can globetrot and encounter Nazis on secret missions around the world, as well as people they hire to stop Indy or beat him to the artifacts they seek. This would certainly give it more of a James Bond vibe, as he's part spy, part archaeologist in his pursuits, since in canon he ends up in the employ of the government and is given military rank, possibly as a front for him to use in order to get where he needs to go to complete missions. I think Marvel could get several years out of that concept and bridge the gap between Last Crusade and Crystal Skull, since that will be the uncharted gap in the film series.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love that idea.
Yeah, that is I mean, think about what we got here. So Last Crusade was what, 1938? 38, 39. I'm trying. You guys, the listeners are going to tell me 38, right?
38. Yep.
And then we jump all the way to the 50s. It's like you touched on that in the radio drama, but I mean, all those years were the years that we were hoping that Harrison Ford and George Lucas and Steven Spielberg would come together. And we got some great Harrison Ford movies, but we did not get any Indiana Jones films. We had Young Indy, which was cool, but that's not the same as Indiana Jones films in the 40s.
That's right. That's right.
So that is all uncharted waters. Yeah, let's get those comics in there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love this next idea. I mean, with what William Graham also wrote to us. And I really dug this when he wrote maybe some unused storylines that would have been motion pictures or the novels that were written. Another awesome suggestion would be the IndyCast radio broadcast to work with Marvel to create a new printed series. Love that idea.
We really love that idea. Yes. Don't sue us. Hire us.
Yes.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
Right.
So, Will, yes, thank you so much for that. We would also love to work with Marvel to create some new adventures for Indy. Starting, of course, with we would definitely break ground with the Bridge to Yesterday.
There's so many. I think you had like an Indy and a vampire, and there's stuff out there. Yeah, there's like some original tales out there. But don't forget, like Classics Illustrated was like huge back in the day. Like, remember all those Classics Illustrated, like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? There was always comic books. They were always trying to get, readers of comics to get into the, literature and things. So how many books, have the guys been talking about here on the IndyCast? They're reviewing books all the time. There's a ton of them there. So there's old stories, right?
And some of them would make great books, great graphic novels, and some of them wouldn't. So, and maybe you could make some of them that weren't as exciting, like, Sky Pirates, which I kind of like that book, actually.
Yeah. But you could change
Sky
it up
Pirates.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't want Army. I could live without Army of the Dead graphic novel, though.
That's where we could agree to disagree, because
a whole issue based on making comic, a whole issue based on making coffee.
And you, as a coffee lover, Joe, that really surprises me. I
don't need a whole chapter on it.
Indiana Jones and coffee. That should be
Indiana Jones and the Adventures of Coffee, the caffeinated adventures.
Hey,
my
look,
goodness!
If you don't have your coffee, you're like a zombie. So it was just a perfect mix.
Grown. Let's move on to the next one. Michael Martis wrote in. He said, look here again, 5 to 6 issue story arcs would make good graphic novels. Yay. But definitely an ongoing series. Yes, I think that's what you and I want.
Yeah.
Similar to the modern Star Wars books. Spend a couple of years pre-Raiders, pre-World War II, then maybe a couple of years post-Raiders, maybe some of the World War II missions we heard about. What they are searching for is not important. We want fights, humor, explosions, dragon from trucks, explosions, snakes, love interest, exotic travel, etc. Maybe the first story arc could be Indiana Jones and the Misunderstanding in Madagascar.
What was that? It was his hands, right?
It was his hands, or it was his. It was my misunderstanding. Look, explosions. I think he forgot a few more explosions. Yes, Keith. How many times have I said that? Like, they get so lost in the MacGuffin, and we can't get a script, and we need like 14 years to come up with a MacGuffin. Who cares?
Right.
Like the arc, it was cool, but it wasn't like that was the whole movie. It was the adventure. It was him and Sala and Mary, and it was the characters. That's what we care about.
It was the journey.
It was the journey. That's right. We don't need, look, whether it's Shankara Stones or Cross of Coronado, it's whatever. We love those characters. That's what we need. And explosions. That's right.
and explosions, according to Michael. Yes.
Yeah.
We also heard from Scott Gardner, and Scott wrote, "I'd love to see John Byrne get a second crack at it." So would we, Scott.
Would John Byrne?
What would John Byrne? I mean, he was definitely burned by the whole zing. I'd love to see him continue whatever he originally intended to do the first time before the Lucasfilm rep drove him to quit the book. Those first 2 issues of the original Marvel series are still brilliant today. Yes.
Yeah.
We agree. They are brilliant. I don't know if he'd ever want to even bother to take a crack at it. Maybe he's just
like he would, yeah. He's been
sound like
pretty.
But
remember, like, there's that, like he teased like a story. Remember that was like the Sentinel. It was like this. It was like a splash page, and like
it was a splash page,
right? And Indy's crawling in this cave, and there's like this Sentinel. Like statue come to life that's like ready. Was it like a hatchet or something ready to come down? I'm like,
yeah,
gah, we wanted
but
that.
Honestly, like to go back to what one of the other listeners said, like that would be a perfect what if story in its own.
Yeah.
What if you get somebody to write what if John Byrne continued Indiana Jones
and do it in the style of John Byrne? So you don't
that
really need him, but it's like, that's such a great idea. Yeah, who needs John Byrne? We get somebody to play John Byrne. Like,
yes. How great would that be?
And then John Byrne would go, "Hey, I'm John Byrne.
Wait a minute. That's not what I would do. This is what I would do." And then a trick. It's a trick.
We could sneak him in with a what if story. I think we're up to something.
let's get creative out there. Let's figure a story. Let's crack that story, because that could be a cool what if.
Yeah, I think Scott's onto something there. I would definitely read that. I just love staring at that Sentinel picture. It's pretty cool. We also heard from Ryan Manda. He said, while my interest with Untold Indy revolves around 1920 to 1930, it is quite clear that the 1940s era of Indiana Jones story is ripe for the picking, whether post-World War II or during. There are many story types that could happen. Just like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles covered many genres, I could envision stories like a seafaring wartime Indian crew lost at sea, venturing through a mysterious storm cell and stumbling upon a lost island akin to Skull Island, a chase storyline about Indian Nazi remnants pursuing the infamous Nazi gold train, and maybe, just maybe, a weird tale courtesy of Hellboy's pop-up Mike Mignola taking a crack at a Lovecraftian indie story. Well, we've had a touch of that. We covered that in a recent comic. While fan fiction can be hit or miss, I'm actually outlining a young indie novella right now that is set in the late 1920s, and I'm really excited about the story I put together. It bridges the gap between innocent Sean Patrick Flannery indie and Forg's rogue mercenary indie, keeping the plot close to the vest, but will likely publish in PDF and audiobook format in time for Indy 5. Hey, thanks for writing in, Ryan. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Like, keep us informed. Let us know.
We would definitely love to read that. And who knows? Maybe we might even talk about it on the show.
Definitely talk about it. Yeah, and then with that Lovecraftian, I like that idea. We had a touch of that.
Tomb of the Gods.
Right? Yeah. Was it Tomb of the Gods, or was it one of the ones right before that? I'm trying to remember now. I'd have to go back. I'll have to listen to our IndyCast.
Tomb of the Gods was Lovecraftian.
Okay.
For sure.
I love the Skull Island thing. I love the whole like King Kong kind of thing. We've seen that played out. I always thought, like, sometimes when we watch those King Kong movies, the recent ones, it'd be like, oh, it'd be cool if Indiana Jones were running around there. I think the Nazi gold train, that.
I mean, that was kind of rumored to be one of the plots for Indy 5. I think.
Are we going to see that? We've seen trains. I think we've seen pictures of trains, Nazi trains. I think we've seen them released, so maybe that'll be in the adaptation. So Ryan might be getting his wish earlier than he thought.
No spoilers. I don't want to know anything.
I don't know. It's all crazy to me. I see stuff. I don't know what I see. I see him carrying something. I see dots on faces. I see motorcycles.
Oh,
I see crazy stuff.
Even
Who
then,
knows?
I've seen too much already. But
look,
Ryan,
here's the thing. No matter what we see, now there's nothing that's going to prepare us for what we're going to see on the big screen. I think we are going to be in for the craziest Indiana Jones adventure that's going to blow all of our minds.
Let's hope. Ryan, definitely let us know when you're done with your story. We would love to read it. And good luck. Good luck with it, because I know what it's like to try to put one of these things together. It's definitely not easy. So keep on keeping on. We're pulling for you. We also heard from Matt Moore. Matt writes, Dream Team. Jody Hauser writing with Stephen Mooney, handling the pencils and inks, and Rochelle Rosenberg as the color artist, backed by Ariana Maher on letters. Wow. Covers, Phil Noto. Topics, I'd be happy with a monthly ongoing featuring a prime arc every 5 to 6 issues that sees Indy visit the interior world again, but with more exploration, as well as a secondary tale that's character-driven. For example, Marcus, Brody, Marion, etc. Other story beats, something Lovecraft inspired. So people are really wanting to see some Lovecraftian
loving the
inspiration here. Yeah, exactly. Even to have him explore the mountains of madness, or delve through Innsmouth, or in search of an elusive totem that sees him travel to the South Pacific. I'd also like, as others have posted, to see him during World War II, not just fighting for the Allies, but stumbling upon unusual relics through the course of his career. Sounds really interesting.
Well, that's some specificity right there.
There's
the whole team working on the book right there. So Matt's got all that covered. Man, I would like to see those ancillary adventures. You could have like a whole Marcus tale. You could have like what happened to Marion in Nepal. You know, I certainly tried to talk to Karen Allen about it. I don't know
the infamous.
I don't know that went that well.
If the listeners don't know anything about that, look it up. Joe asked.
It's a good chat.
Karen Allen, an amazing.
Not my fault. not my fault. It's the author. Blame the author.
Did she have an answer for him?
Blame the late great author. But but there's like all those, Who have we talked about before? Belloc, like Indian Belloc. Maybe there's a Belloc adventure just sitting out there, right? There are two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah,
exactly. It would only take a
almost had Belloc
in
in Young Indiana Jones Chronicles too. Don't
exactly
forget,
right. So there's so much character development and stories that are ripe for the picking. I think that's what all these letters are saying is like, these are the movies we wish we got. Like we got like every aspect of Star Wars. We got like every aspect of James Bond you could think of.
I mean,
Indiana
we can get
Jones
an episode.
Is the character.
We can get an issue of Sala going to the hospital for his 8th kid being born. You know what I mean? It's like that would be a.
I don't
right?
know if is that an issue? I might pass on that one.
Once again, gee, another kid. All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Of the sea. All right, Sean Hilton wrote in as well. He says, while any Indiana Jones stories would be great, I hope they reprint or omnibus up, I love that term, omnibus up their material and Dark Horse material. In the future, I'd like them to do some version of an expanded universe. I would really like to see an early to mid-20s short round, grown up, turned into an adventurer or lawyer, maybe a Sala adventure. There you go, Keith. Keith already threw an idea out there. The early days of Marcus Brody. See, here we again. We're talking about these characters. In the first movie, he is much more serious. He states if he were a little younger, he'd go after the Ark, and it's played pretty serious. I'd like to see these characters fleshed out and not necessarily just as sub-characters to Indy. Again, we agree. These are characters ripe for the picking. Who are they? Where'd they come from? What were their adventures, Keith? I want to know.
Let's see Sala talk to his brother-in-law to ask him to borrow the car. Like, you know.
That little mini adventure, like almost those little mini adventures, right? That fit in with so like kind of like a Rogue One. So we got like episode 3 and episode 4. Get an Indiana Jones Rogue One tale that fits in there, right?
It writes itself, Sala, I promise. There won't be a scratch on the car. You know, we know what happens there. You know,
yes, we do.
But honestly, though, ripe for the picking, like you said, and also a chance to introduce new characters that we can then bring back later on down the line. I mean, it's the world of Indiana Jones. There's so much going on there.
Yeah, we like to see Katanga come back. We like to see Jock come back. We like to see the character, but introduce something else, and then just build the world. Yeah, I like the expanded universe. Expand that universe, man. This guy's been everywhere over his career. He's known everybody. He's got
a friend in every corner of the world.
That's right. That's exactly
all
right.
You got to do. I mean, you know, it's just ripe for the picking, guys.
The world is your oyster.
What are you waiting?
The world is literally your oyster. There, comic creators.
So we also heard from Francesco Sprifico. I hope I got your name right. If not, I apologize. Please write in and yell at me. Something that's officially canon, like they're doing for Star Wars. That's what Francesco wants to see. They're doing a great job with the High Republic, for example. They picked up a time period that hadn't been touched and wasn't likely to be touched by other media and let books and comics thrive there. Yes, there will be a TV show at the very end of it, but that's part of the plan. With Indy, of course, that's more difficult. They can't go back centuries, but at the same time, it might be easier since Indy can live many different adventures that are not necessarily tied to one another like they tend to be in Star Wars. So there's a lot of room for stories that can coexist with no problem, even if, when, some younger actor will pick up the whip for future movies or TV shows. We have all the years between Young Indy and Temple of Doom that would work perfectly there. But also something in the later years if they want to play it extra safe. What's important for me, besides getting good stories, but that's obvious, is that everything must make sense when put together. Yes, absolutely.
I agree
it needs
that.
to make sense. It needs to kind of fit in the Indiana Jones timeline. Because like even the novels, like you can fit those in. There are a couple of things that you need to maybe sort of
retrofit.
You need to. Exactly, but they all more or less fit in with each other.
Yeah, but isn't that what Favreau's doing with the Star Wars universe? Is like you're kind of going in, it's like, here's Boba Fett, and then all of a sudden we see him climbing out of the Sarlacc pit, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that fits in perfectly. I didn't even think that was a thing, and now we get a whole series about it. Mandalorian, whoa, where'd that come from?
They're cherry-picking legends for sure.
Yeah, but it does fit in that universe. Doesn't it feel like it fits in that universe that we remember from the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, I mean, parts of it. Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan of Book of Boba pet, but that's a whole other thing.
That's another podcast, right?
That's a whole other.
But Francesco mentions TV shows like Disney. I've said it a million times. They don't buy the property unless they're going to do something with it. You could see these like ancillary Indiana Jones. There could be a Belloc series. Right? There could be a Sala series, like the Book of Sala, the Book of Belloc, it could be any of these things. All those things are so cool. And he mentioned like Indy can't go back centuries. Can't he? Will he?
Yeah.
We don't know. There's some weird stuff out there. Space between spaces. I don't know.
Certainly is.
Maybe he could.
Who knows? Who knows?
We don't know. That's the whole thing. I'm saying 2023 can't get here soon enough. Look. Thanks to all the listeners that wrote in and jumped in on the Facebook. Let's keep it going.
A lot of great ideas there, guys.
Yeah, let's keep it going. We've got a lot of time between now and 2023. So if you've got more adventures, more tales. If you've got ideas you want to see in future Indiana Jones comics, maybe you've got a wish list for those Indiana Jones comic book action figures. Like, go back through. Which ones do you see? Like, I want Marcus. I got it. There needs to be like a college playset with Marcus or something, or I don't know. Like,
where you can constantly like shift the walls so like he can never like get out.
He can get lost in his own. Marcus Museum, a museum playset. Yeah. I want Marcus lost in his own museum. That's what I want. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I want Katanga and a Bantu wind playset. So when I take a bath, I can just let that thing float next to me.
Just the imagery there.
And look at Marion in her nightgown.
No, there's a whole there's a whole other
take
podcast.
What we wish. And then decide whether or not to blow this ship from the water and then fart in the tub.
Whole other podcast. I don't even know about that. I mean, you've got the Icons of Icamanen. They talk about John Byrne. We've got Solomon Black, Edith Dunn. What about that? What about the Indy's Classroom? Right? You could get the bonus Miss Greebley. Right? Yeah, and Professor Indy with the whip crack in action, right? You gotta have a whole John Byrne line.
Give us all of them.
I want all the ideas. Whatever crazy thing you want to put in your bathtub. And Keith, how can they tell us about it? Where can they send their ideas?
Well, you guys can email us at thefurtheradventures@gmail.com. You could also contact us on our Facebook page. Please give us a like over there if you haven't already. We really want to hear from you guys. All of these messages and all of these ideas were great. We love hearing from you guys. This is what it's all about, right? Creating a community, talking about all this stuff, letting them know what we want. We want comics. We want novels. We want a bunch of stuff. Maybe another TV show. Give it to us, guys.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
All right, as Indy says, that is all the time we have today for this segment. That was a fun one.
Yeah, really. Thanks again, first of all, to you, Joe. Thanks so much. And to all of the listeners once again out there. Thanks to those that follow us on Facebook for getting those comic book stories ideas to us. Fantastic job. We want to see all of those ideas come to life. We really do.
Yeah, hear that, Marvel and Disney? We want to give you our Indiana Jones money. We're going to give it to you. We have it all. Here, take our money. Make more comic books. Definitely give us more to talk about. We need content for the show. We are definitely going to be doing some digging on that Hasbro story. I promise you on that. If something pops on that, we will bring it to you here, hoping to get some more details on that. We have got Young Indie UK comic strips that we're going to focus on with Chris A. So we're working to get you that segment soon. Yeah, I can't wait to have Chris A. back on this segment.
And of course, don't forget, you can sit down, pop in Raiders, Temple of Doom with us on those full-length movie commentaries, and you can now watch Last Crusade with us and Laird and Ron. That commentary is going to be online very, very soon. Crystal Skull coming at some point. Hopefully we're going to get that to you guys with a couple of other special guests that you would know from the show. Indy 5 is getting closer. It's getting closer, and maybe 6 too. And we're going to be covering all of the indie comic goodness right here on the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.